Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Nap Time News as part of the channel Nap Time Reviews. My name is Chelsea, and I'm sorry I sound a little nasally. I'm getting over being sick, but I had to share this because this came across my viewing today. So, we do have some news, some Harry Potter news, and also some Walt Disney animation news I thought was pretty cool too, or pretty interesting. So, right now, we will get started with some Harry Potter news in regards to J.K. Rowling. So, in my previous video that I did going over the Harry Potter casting, I had mentioned that we hadn't heard anything from J.K. Rowling, her reaction, especially to the Papa Asiatu Snape casting, but we haven't heard her thoughts on any of it. She's been relatively silent on that front. So now she actually has broken silence and has come forward about her reaction. So in this article here that I'm going to pin at the bottom in the description of this video so that you guys can read it on your own, but we will go through it. So it says here J.K. Rowling reacts to first two episodes of Harry Potter HBO TV show. This was released, I guess, a couple days ago. So it says J.K. Rowling has teased the first two episodes of the Harry Potter HBO TV show after reading the scripts of each episode, and she's excited. Okay, that's some news. I guess good news. Since the Harry Potter reboot was announced by HBO, many Harry Potter fans have wondered how involved J.K. Rowling is in the show's creation and production. To this end, J.K. Rowling has revealed she has not written anything for the show, but has worked closely with the show's writers to bring it to life. So I don't know if she wrote anything for the original movies or not, or if she collaborated with the movies writers as well. So I'm not too versed on that. I don't know about that, but okay, at least she has is working with them. So that's good. She's having some input, which is better than what I thought before. What I thought before is that she hasn't done anything or she doesn't have any input at all, which is worrisome. But I guess she does. So sorry for the ads. So scrolling down here, it says taking to X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. J.K. Rowling, creator of Harry Potter, praised the upcoming HBO Harry Potter series. Previously, many have taken her relative silence about the show as an indication she wasn't on board with how the show was taking shape. But this new post puts these conspiracies to bed. And yes, as I mentioned before, I thought so too. I thought she just wasn't saying anything either because one, she doesn't care. JK Rowling, she's got what people call FU money. So she has so much money that she doesn't need anymore, technically. She has to respect the fan base. You have to respect the fan base. And by not saying anything, it's just we didn't know if she liked it or didn't like it. But anyway, so now I guess we know that she does. So in her Twitter post, she said, I read the first two episodes of the forthcoming HBO Harry Potter series, and they are so good. Reads the new X post in question. Responding to this post, one Harry Potter fan asked the Harry Potter author if she was involved in the writing of the show. And this is where J.K. Rowling clarified her involvement in the production. No, but I've worked closely with the extremely talented writers. So she's complimenting the writers, I guess, on the outside, I guess you should say. And when she was saying it's so good. Three so's. So I'm guessing she's pleased. And that's only the first two episodes. We really don't know. So, anyway, going on, if this sounds familiar, it is because this is how J.K. Rowling has operated as the administrator of the Harry Potter series for a while. While she doesn't directly work on the series anymore, she is creatively involved in some capacity in just about everything that happens with it. So, that's good that she's involved. It's great to hear that, but I'm also worried that she doesn't have as much power as people think that she does. Like, just because she's creatively involved, it doesn't mean that they're going to go with what she wants or what her advice is. They should, because she was the writer and the creator of Harry Potter. But I don't know if they're really going to listen to her, because there have been other times when there have been authors, involved in movie adaptations of books, and the movie adaptation still hasn't been hasn't been good. They always leave stuff out or they mess stuff up. So just because she's involved in it doesn't really mean that she has control or full control over what goes in the show. So just be aware of that. And I know I'm really skeptical, but in the past, there's just been a lot of shows, Game of Thrones, that have really, they've had the author's input, but it still hasn't turned out great. And also, what happened with Game of Thrones was really bad. But even with House of the Dragon, George R. R. Martin was involved in it and he wanted to change stuff. So just because the author's involved doesn't mean it's going to be faithful to the books. Let's just put it that way. So, moving on, of course, the script of the first two episodes of the Harry Potter TV show, getting the J.K. Rowling stamp of approval, may not end up counting for much. After all, something can be well written, but that is just a piece of a production. That said, this will go a long way in getting some Harry Potter fans aboard the hype train. And that's about it for this one. So, yeah, I think a lot of fans were really pissed off about the whole Esiato, Papa Esiato casting, and many of them still are. Now, a lot of like the normal fans, they're going to see that, oh, J.K. Rowling she gave it her stamp of approval, saying that she likes at least the first two episodes, the scripts of the first two episodes. Now, again, just like this article said, just because they're scripts doesn't mean it's actually going to be in the show, because they could always do rewrites. They can always take stuff out during their editing process. So we really don't know how much of those first two episodes, the scripts, are going to be actually in the finished product. So for that, we'll just have to wait and see. But so A, she's giving it her stamp of approval, and B, she's actually going to be creatively involved. So that might be enough for most people to be like, okay, I'm on board. Let's see what happens. I am carefully optimistic about it, right? So I want it to do well. I really want this show to be great. But so far, there's just been a couple things that have happened with the casting and with this. It just doesn't seem super promising, but we will keep following the story and see how things turn out. And yeah, and I will report back to you guys if I hear anything else about what JK Rowling has said. But for the most part right now, she likes it, so take that for what it is. So moving on, we actually have some Walt Disney Animation news. We have Walt Disney Animation could be returning to traditional 2D animation. So it's actually a cool picture of Moana, not gonna lie. That's some cool animation. So anyway, so going on, Walt Disney Animation Studios Chief Creative Officer Jared Bush has teased that the studio could soon be releasing its first hand animated film since 2011. All right. So, Disney, are you turning a page? Are you trying to backtrack? Are you trying to make up for all the flops that you've had for the past 10 years or so? Might be, might be. So, as an aside, if again, for those of you who've been living underneath a rock, Disney has not been doing well with their shows, with their movies, all that kind of stuff. I've talked about it a little bit in some of the reviews that I've done recently, especially Lilo and Stitch. But for the most part, Disney hasn't done very well. And a lot of, especially in terms of their animation, because they've gone on this like social justice trend and virtue signaling trend. So, what they've done is they have fired a lot of the original veteran animators, and they've brought in these people that they found from online that are not adequate at their job. They're not competent. They don't know how to do proper animation. They don't know how to do a proper story. So the result of that is you're getting poor animation films with clunky stories, the message put into it. It's just, they've been bad. And even the normal people are recognizing that too. The normies are recognizing that. They're not going out to see these movies. They'd rather see the live action remakes than seeing the animated movies because of the story is bad and the animation is bad. And so they fired all the veterans because they're old white men and they've wanted to bring in a more diverse cast. Again, it's nepotism than actually hiring people on their merit. And this is what happens. And they found out. And I'm kind of laughing because it's karma. We all knew it was going to happen, right? They're going to figure it out once. And this is with any job, right? If you get people into a job that are not competent at what they do, your business is going to fail. Like I don't understand why, why Disney did this. I mean, I do know why they did this because of virtue signaling, but it backfired drastically. And you can see it in their recent movies that they've done. So it looks like with this article now, they are they're backtracking and they're like, well, let's stop with all the CGI stuff and maybe let's go back to the 2D animated films. So listen to this. It says Walt Disney Animation Studios hasn't made a fully 2D animated film since 2011's Winnie the Pooh, but is that about to change? So, the chief creative officer of Walt Disney Animation Studios, Jared Bush, recently spoke to The Wrap and teased that just might happen. So, he said, I love 2D. Bush said, right now we have 2D artists who are doing some bonkers, amazing things. I'll leave it at that. So, from Wreck It Ralph to the more recent Moana 2, Walt Disney Animation Studios has released 12 films since Winnie the Pooh, and all have been CG animated films. The switch to 2D from CG likely occurred due to a loss of know how for traditional hand animation techniques and rising production costs. Wow, this is just what I just said a little bit ago. Loss of know how for traditional hand animation techniques. I wonder why. I really wonder why. Is it because you fired all your hand animators because you didn't like the way they looked? Huh. Yeah. It's like, come on. Especially in this article. I don't know. This article is from tonato.com. I don't know. It's like, yeah, of course. I don't know if they're trying to shill for Disney or not, but it's like, a loss of know how. No, it's because you fired all of your hand animators that have been there for decades. Anyway, rising production costs, I get that too because they can blame COVID, they can blame whatever, but with the CG and just with inflation and all that kind of stuff, yeah, everything's getting more expensive to make, especially movies. So anyway, moving on. To combat the first problem, Bush teased that he recently convinced Disney animation legend Ron Clements, who worked on The Great Mouse Detective and The Little Mermaid, that is my favorite Disney movie, to come out of retirement and teach the current generation of animators. Wow. I don't know if retirement is what that is. I think that is a safe term to be like Ron Clements. I don't know how long he was. I have to look it up, but I don't know if he was one of the ones that got fired or left because of the working conditions at Disney Animation Studios, or if he really did retire long before all of this social crap was going on, and then they're bringing him back. But what they need to do is they need to bring back all of those veteran animators that they fired if they even want to come back and then start working on good stories. But yeah, that's so bad when you have to convince a animation legend to come out of retirement because you don't know what you're doing. You have animators there that don't know what the heck that they're doing. Anyway, so tackling the second issue is a different problem. Bush's peer at Pixar, Jim Morris, recently commented on the great cost that Pixar and Disney animation films incur to produce their films in comparison to other animation studios. So he's saying it's only us and Disney Animation that makes animation films in the US anymore with all of the artists under one roof. We feel like having a colony of artists approach has differentiated our films. We hope to find a path to make that work. Elemental was particularly expensive because all the characters have visual effects. I heard Elemental was horrible, was so bad. So I've never saw it, but I heard it was really bad. Anyway, we had been getting the film costs down, said Morris, back when addressing Elemental's slow rise to profitability. Yeah, it had a slow rise because it was a crappy movie. I heard it had a bunch of really just awful storytelling in it, injected with the message, all that kind of stuff. Probably the animation probably wasn't that great either. So yeah, that's why there's a slow rise to profitability. Anyway, so despite most studios having made strides in lowering costs, the last seven films from Pixar and Disney Animation have all exceeded $100 million dollars in production budgets, with most edging toward $150 million dollars. And that's what they're reporting. So we don't know exactly how high their budget is because there was, I think, one or two other movies that they did that they filmed over in the UK. Because if you don't know, if you film over in the UK, the film studios get a tax break or a tax credit from the government to film in their country. Amount that they had to report on taxes is probably not accurate, especially when they get that tax break. So a lot of these could have been more, but I'm guessing 150 million, that's fair, but that's still a lot of money. And like your movies are making not even a half of that. So Disney is just hemorrhaging money right and left, and Pixar as well, because their movies are just crap. Anyway, by contrast, rival studios are operating at a fraction of those costs. Yeah, because everything's getting outsourced to either Canada or other states in the US that do offer tax breaks, or to other countries like the UK. Because just in Hollywood, it's way too expensive to film there. They nickel and dime you to death, and everything costs a lot of money, and just the amount of restrictions that they have on everything and the amount of people that are involved with just titles that are just made up, I feel like, just to make money. Yeah, of course it's going to be expensive to stay in Hollywood, and that's why a lot of studios, movie studios in general, not just animation studios but all other movie studios in general, are leaving Hollywood and going somewhere else. Moving on. So it says the difference is that Pixar and Disney animation movies are fully animated and produced in the US, while the other aforementioned studios outsource much of the animation to overseas animation studios, where the US's higher currency exchange rate does a lot of the heavy lifting. So there's been speculation in the past that Disney and Pixar could change their stance, but so far they've been holding onto tradition. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to continue to do for them. I don't know if it's going to work out for them or not. So we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. But it is promising that they're bringing in, they're starting to realize, oh, we done messed up about in firing all of the veteran 2D animators, or the animators that have been there, even ones that have worked on the CG stuff or the storyboards and everything, the ones that have been there for a long time. And hopefully they can get some of them back. But I don't even know if those people want to come back. So that's one thing. If the animators or the people that they fired do want to come back. And then also, even if they do come back, is Disney so far gone? And then have they lost so much money to where people just don't want to go out and see their movies anymore, especially with the animation? You can have a great animation, but a really shitty story. But that remains to be seen. But I guess it's kind of promising. I actually would like to see some 2D animation. I think it would be really cool because just the CG stuff has just gotten way over the top. And all of my favorite movies, they were 2D animation. When you have that Disney Renaissance era, which was that time in the 90s and the early 2000s when Disney was just cranking out movie after movie after movie, those were all 2D animation. And they did really well because they had great animation paired with a wonderful story. And once you have those two elements come together cohesively, you'll have a great movie and people will come out to see it. But until then, you're going to reap what you sow. You're going to experience, and they've already experienced, the consequences of their actions over the past decade or so. So, anyway, that's all that I have for you guys today. I'll keep you updated on that. And that's about it. So, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.